Hello, this is Kat, and welcome back to another episode of IB Survival. And in this episode, we're going to talk about
how to choose your IB courses, aka IB Course Selection 101, and we'll be mentioning some of the most popular courses in each of the categories and our own experiences with these courses, hoping that we can help you to make a better and more informed decision when it comes to your IB course selection. There are 3 general tips that you have to keep in mind when you choose your IB courses. The first one is to choose a balanced amount of workload. You want to take a few courses that are super challenging, such as Math HL or Physics HL or even Chemistry HL. These are the examples of challenging courses. However, you don't want to jam-pack your schedule with overly challenging courses. You also may want to take some easy and creative or fun courses such as film, or I think geography is often said to be the easier course as well.
taking a relatively easy course in IB will allow you to put more time on the courses that are more challenging for you and that you need to get high marks in order to qualify for a prerequisite when you're applying to universities and colleges.
The second rule of thumb is to always check the majors that you're interested to apply for universities, because majors such as engineering and business may have extra requirement or specific requirement for IB courses that you must complete in order to be able and eligible to apply for their programs.
So one of my friends, she wanted to go into pre-med in the UK. However, she didn't have chemistry, so she had to drop business in the middle of the year of grade 11, so like about a third of the way through of the entire DP, and do HL Chem. Save yourself some trouble, you know? It's good to always do more research.
The third rule is to actually choose courses that you like and that you're good at. This is really important because you have to stay motivated enough to like this course enough to actually work hard throughout 2 years to complete numerous and countless assignments and do well in every single one of them. You have to like it, you have to be good at it, and you have to feel confident about that course. First, let's talk about the English language and literature courses. So for me, I thought English HL was going to be so much harder than English SL, which is why I opted in for the SL course because I wasn't the best at writing, reading, or analyzing when I entered grade 11. However, later on I realized that the main difference between English HL and English SL really is just the amount of material. But if you are naturally or already good at English after practice, you can still take English HL, and as long as you work hard, you can still get an easy 5 or 6.
Once you start to get the hang of like how to approach a text, to sort of break it down into the stylistic features and the author's intent
and the tone and the mood and like the context and everything, once you start to understand how to do that, it becomes an automatic process. Like when you get a text, your brain will just click and you'll just
Side note, if you don't know which HLs to take, I think Group 1 HL is a good one to take because the HL course and the SL course aren't that different. So for Group 2, that is language acquisition, so that is your second language, so that will be language B or ab initio. And for some, if you are too smart, unlike me, that can take a second language A and you would get a bilingual diploma.
For me personally, my background is Chinese, so my parents really wanted me to learn Chinese, so I took Mandarin language and literature standard level. The reason I chose Mandarin SL instead of HL is because I haven't been professionally trained in Mandarin for many years after I immigrated to Canada, which is why I did not want to put myself in a really big hole and then like had to dig myself out for 2 years.
Do something you have experience in because the whole course will come a lot more naturally to you and you'll be more familiar with the course. And a lot of the listening, the speaking, and the writing will just come easier. Like you'll be able to understand more. You feel a lot more at ease. And that's probably the biggest advice I can give for that. And I regret not taking Mandarin, even though I'm not great at Mandarin, because it would have saved me a lot of headache, a lot of stress, a lot of mumbling in French that I didn't know what I was saying. When I was really stressed, I kept practicing my French oral in the shower because I was just really, really stressed about it. It's not something that you can quickly improve through just studying. So that is why I would definitely recommend you to choose a language that you already have some experience in.
Mandarin HL is very unlikely to be a popular course in your school, so I'll just fast forward this.
Mandarin language and literature is literally a translated version of English language and literature. The assignments that you have to complete, the writing prompts that you have to practice with are basically all the same, but just translated into Mandarin. So if you know how to do well in English, then you will know how to do well in Mandarin as well.
So moving on to the next topic. let's talk about the humanities. I chose business management higher level because this is the career path that I want to pursue in the future. I also really like this course because it helps me a lot with real life application, and a lot of the knowledge can be used in like business case competitions if you attend any of those, or any sales pitch. So I think this course is very useful and practical. A very important quality to do well in business management is flexibility in the way you think. This is because business management isn't really a textbook-based course, even though you do have to memorize a lot of the concepts from the textbook, but the tests and the assignments are all about applying these concepts. So business management really trains your ability to think on the spot, to actually be flexible and react to the case study rather than just like memorize and spell it out like how you do in biology, which is something that I quite like. Overall, I would say that business management is definitely not a challenging course, but it's very fun for me. By saying that it's not as challenging, it doesn't mean you can get an easy 7. It's more like if you don't work as hard, you can still be guaranteed with a 5 or 6. But with some courses, you have to work really hard to get that 5 or 6. So maybe this is a choice that you want to opt into if you want to just take a break from the very rigorous courses.
Group 3 is probably, besides the language, so language A, group 1, it's probably the easiest. Just choose which one you're interested in, especially if you want to maybe major something like that in university. And because this is a pretty easy course, I think. For most people, this is alright. In history, the class average is like a 6. I don't think anybody's getting lower than a 6 actually. And for Geo too, like this is where people get 7s, the easiest. Most people, if they have like 1 or 2 7s, it's in group 3. It's for their humanities class. Yeah. For group 4, it's called experimental sciences. That's an interesting one.
The sciences for me are definitely the most painful courses that I've had throughout my IB years. For me personally, I had a weird combination of taking physics and biology, because normally students will always take physics and chemistry if they want to go into engineering, or they would take chemistry and biology if they want to study medical science in the future. But for me, I never wanted to enter a science field, and the innocent me thought that, wow, like I was really good at science when I was in grade 9 and 10. This means I should take 2 sciences instead of 2 humanities. And that was the worst decision that I have possibly made.
How like the hierarchy goes in just the main biochem and physics is that biochem, physics.
But let's first talk about physics. I took physics HL. It was the most difficult courses that I have taken because I had no prior physics knowledge or physics practices. I didn't have a tutor in grade 9 or 10 to prep me for a physics HL level like material. I was so confused most of the time. With physics HL courses, you really have to look at the teacher who is teaching this. And basically all the students, including me, have to do a lot of independent study on our own. And studying physics HL on your own with no assistance is just almost impossible for me. I mean, if you work on it, perhaps you'll get like a 5 or like a 4, but if you want anything higher than that, like a 6 or 7, you have to make sure that the teacher who is teaching your physics HL course in school is actually qualified, or you do have additional help outside of school to guide you through the physics HL process. I mean, unless you're a genius, which I'll be jealous, but if you're a genius, then I guess it really doesn't matter.
Level. For physics, oh my god, it was my least favorite class. I hated it so much. I hated physics. I took it because I was going to take a second humanity, but then I didn't because I thought physics would have been more useful in life generally to take. I was wrong. I hate physics. It was really hard. But you don't need to understand it. It's hard to say anything positive about physics that I hate because I hate physics. Physics, I think you just need to. If you like physics, you like math, you like calculating things and solving problems, physics is for you. But if you're not that and you don't need it for university, I would suggest you skip physics and do either bio or chem. Those are much more fun, interesting, and easier. I think. Physics is hard. Like on my mock physics exam, I got like a 7 on paper 2, which is the longest paper, and I didn't even study for it. And it's because after a while, you just couldn't get.
Now let's move on to biology. Biology SL for me is actually not that difficult, but it does contain a lot of memorization. You have to memorize a lot of terms, a lot of concepts. However, memorization is easier said than done. So if you're someone who actually likes to memorize things, or if you actually like reading or English, because biology is very English-based and like term-based, I think you'll actually do well in biology compared to like physics and chemistry that are a little bit more mathematical, if that makes sense. So I have a couple of Bio HL friends, and I noticed the main difference between Bio HL and SL is just that there are a lot more concepts that you have to learn in Bio HL, but I think it is a necessary course if you want to pursue medical sciences in the future. Biology SL students learn pretty much the same content as Bio HL students, but it's just that the Bio HL students really go in depth into these concepts. So for example, if a Bio SL student learn about photosynthesis, probably just like a 3 to 4 steps process, but for HL students, it could extend to like a 10-step process with a lot more terminologies and names that they have to remember.
For chem, I don't really have much advice other than just try to understand the concepts and do more practice. If for chem, it's not so math-based, even though there are a couple of calculations, as long as you understand formulas, it'll be okay. For chem, it's a lot of like laws and rules and general sort of trends, as long as you understand those, like what is like a periodic table, trend, reactivity, or atomic radius, and so on. It's all right, just as long as you understand the theory, which isn't too hard to understand. I think for chem, you'll be okay. The SL course in chem is a lot more theory based, and the HL chem class has a lot more of the calculations. So if you're somebody who's like, oh, I'm good at theory, but I'm not so good at the calculations, do SL chem. HL chem is the one that's a little more technical in terms of calculating things, because I think most of the formulas that you use in chem are on the HL level. Okay, for group 5 mathematics, this is interesting. For math, I took HL math with the option calculus.
I chose mathematics HL because I have been mostly pretty good on the sciences and the mathematics and a little bit weaker on the humanities and English. So mathematics HL for me is difficult to get a 7, but for me it's not as difficult to get a 6. You just have to work a reasonable amount, but to get a 7 you really have to put in a lot more extra work.
I've never been the best at math. I've always been like slightly above average. Like I would be in the top 25th percentile. But actually it's in DP Math HL that I've done the best in math comparatively to any other math course I've done in my life. So that's why I think I did better at it, because it's more about looking for patterns and solving problems from just more like a theory logical point of view rather than really calculating anything. For most people, if you need math, I would recommend Math SL, because SL, it's okay. It's a standard course for math, And for HL, unless you really love math, I don't suggest you take it. Or if you're looking for a challenge, that's what I thought. See, that's what I thought. I took Math HL because I thought I was good at math, good enough at math, liked math, and was like, I'm ready for a challenge because I want to challenge myself. And the result of that was a lot of pain, a lot of tears. Like I cried over math a couple times. No shame in that. I'm stupid, okay? It's fine.
The challenge about mathematics HL is that after you understand a lot of the concepts and formula, it's not just about understanding them, it's more about being able to apply to it. Because a lot of the problems that you will encounter in Math HL can be quite different from one another, so you really have to be adjustable. You really have to have all of these knowledge stored in your mind so you can pull them out whenever they want, like tools. So this is the training that you have to do if you want to do well in Math HL. By just trying to memorize or look at your notes over and over again isn't going to help you. You have to keep on doing more and more practices, more and more problems until you're familiar with every different situation, and then you get a pattern of how mathematics HL works. There's no problem in just taking Math HL or math studies, whatever is suitable for you, because Math HL isn't a required course for a lot of the programs that you need to apply for in university. Unless you're like a genius in math and sciences, then I guess there isn't really a course that can stop you. Maybe take like further math or something, like maybe that'll give you a challenge, I hope.
Group 6, arts. This is an interesting one. I didn't take an art. I took a second science, which for me was physics, which I hated. A lot of people usually skip out on art to take a second humanity or a second science because to fulfill their university requirement. And I think those are all my tips and tricks. Yeah, okay, cool.
Before we end this video, I want to give a quick personal ranking of the most popular courses in IB and their level of difficulty from hardest to easiest. The criteria for being the hardest or easiest is how hard do you have to work on that course in order to get a reasonably well score, such as a 5 or 6. Getting a 7 can be difficult on any of the course, so it will be the hardest regardless of what course it is. However, still go for it, still have your goal as a 7, because it's never a bad thing to keep trying and keep talking to your teacher and just nag the shit out of the teacher. Anyways, also make sure that your teacher is actually good or they actually like you when you choose the course, because you can have the hardest time with the easiest course. If your teacher doesn't like you or is a very stubborn teacher who is very conservative with his mark and will never give you a particular grade higher than a 6, then you're gonna suffer a lot and you'll probably hate that course because of it. Anyway, so the ranking is, the hardest for me is physics. And I think for students who take chemistry, it's probably somewhere near that or a little bit beneath that. And then it's mathematics, and then it's biology, and then it's business management. So along with geography and history, I think it can also be around that bar. And then it's English, and then it's second language, which is Mandarin for me. And then it's the electives. So electives include like visual arts, film, or any of the other courses that you have available at your school. I can't say that visual art is the easiest course in terms of workload, because I know my friends who do take visual arts, they have to work their butts off to complete all of these process journals, paintings, assignments, reflections, PowerPoints. It's quite crazy. But I think the reason I said it's a little bit easier than the other courses is because that a lot of students who actually take visual arts in their diploma years is because they actually like and enjoy doing arts. So I think the fun of it will reduce the level of like difficulty for them because they're actually enjoying the process.
Hello, this is Editing Cat. My mom's playing music outside, so ignore that. And yes, this is a different time. I'm wearing a different shirt. It's night. Hello. And I forgot to give my own personal ranking, so I thought I'd add that in post-editing. And so, firstly, I'd like to disagree with what Judy said. I do not think that, what she put, art is easy. I disagree, okay? And for me, I think my ranking would be that the hardest course for me was physics, and then French, and then probably math or English. Even though English wasn't that hard, it gave me a lot of anxiety, so I was stressed a lot because I just stress over timed assessments a lot. So that, math because it's actually pretty hard, and then probably Chem HL, and then lastly is probably business management. I'm ranking them also in the order of how well I did sort of in them, where like my SLs were definitely more challenging because I was just less good at those courses, and the HLs I chose I was just better at them and I found them more interesting, and so I just performed better anyway. And I think for those reasons it's my ranking. It's very different. It's different for everybody, so I think it's very understandable that we both have different lists. And I think for the best advice for anybody when choosing their IB courses is just to choose the ones that you are interested in and that you need for university, and the ones that you feel most confident in studying.
This marks the end of our video today. If you enjoyed our video, please give our video a like and comment down below for any video requests or disagreements or concerns, questions, anything. And we'll see you next time.